Hey, what's up, nerds? It's Paul at Radio Free Hammer Hall, and today I want to talk to you guys about the Nova Open Narrative event that I went to. Well, it was probably like almost a month ago now, but better late than never. And yeah, it was a really awesome event. I did not really know what to expect going into it, um, and so it was a lot of very pleasant surprises. Um, kind of going into it, what did we know? It was going to be a, it was scheduled to be a 4-day event, um, and we all had to bring some sort of custom monster to be used in the event that was not going to be counting towards our point total in our lists. And with that, all we really had was here's the base size you have to put it on. Have fun. Um, we didn't know what the war scroll was going to look like or anything like that. So that it was interesting. I didn't really know what to expect with that. Um, and before the event, they sent out a kind of like a primer on the background and story for the event. There was a lot more there for the narrative backdrop than rules wise. It was basically like 2,000 point lists, custom monster. We'll see you there. Um, so that was uh, definitely cool. So the general background of the event was playing in the realm of beasts in Gur, and with that, there were different factions fighting over territory. One faction is allegiant to Be'lakor, and the others are loyal to Gobsprak. And then a third group would be mercenaries that didn't have any particular allegiance and were, out for their own aims, and could be persuaded to join, a particular side throughout the event. Um, so that was really cool. I joined up on the Be'lakor side with my Nurgle, my custom hero. I don't know, you guys might have seen it on Twitter or something like that, what I was building for that. Basically, I took the sassy Nurgling from the, it was like some Plague Marine kit. The little guy with the helmet. And that was my monster. I just built like a big crazy base for him and stuck him on the top of a hill. Um, yeah, and that's what it was. He was, you know, narratively speaking, he's a Nurgling trying to ascend to become a great unclean one. Just kind of basic in a sentence. I wrote up a bunch more than just that, for the event to be included in, the event's narrative. But, you know, that's kind of the basics there. Now, I'm going to be taking the same model for Holy Havoc in a couple of weeks, and kind of continue his story, continue his journey there. So, well, I think might as well just kind of dive into what we actually got into in the event and how everything worked. So we arrived on day one, which was the Thursday of Nova Open. And, we all went and checked in, and we were all basically, we found out basically that our monster, we were going to be building an Anvil of Apotheosis monster. So we had like a certain like base that we had to use like the monster thing in Anvil of Apotheosis. And beyond that, it was basically like, here's your allotment of destiny points. Do your thing. Oh, coffee is always necessary. So yeah, we got our monsters built up from there. Obviously, everybody was encouraged to do something sort of thematic along with what they were doing. I don't think there was really anybody that was like power gaming it. And, with the Anvil of Apotheosis, there's not a lot you can really power game with those to begin with. I think for myself, Playing with Nurgle, I think it gave me a little bit of an advantage because I got a 5 up board save for free, and nobody else could get something like that. Just because it was part of, a Magagan of Nurgle force. So I think that might be my only real thought as far as um, that's more of just a thought on Anvil of Apotheosis right now. I'm not sure off the top of my head if there's any other armies that really get like just a flat benefit for having particular keywords like that. Anyway, on to more of the point. So the event was going to be spread out over 4 days. The final day was really basically just like open play, so it was really more of 3 days rather than the four. Basically for the last day, they were just going to keep all the tables up with all the rules and everything out, and if people wanted to come and play, they could just add into the narrative of the story. But the main story arc was going over the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That each day was split into 2 sessions, so a morning session and an evening session. Morning would start around 10, and the evening would start around 5. They did pairings for each round. However, they were definitely not random pairings, and they weren't done like Swiss pairings. Like, you weren't paired with people based on your performance throughout the event. I believe they were mainly doing pairings and table assignments for narrative purposes, like having a reason for those factions to be fighting. Each of the tables had beautiful terrain, bespoke rules on every table. Each table had its own win conditions and objectives. If you're familiar with the Holy Wars and Holy Havoc events, very similar in concept to that, where it's the table really is determining a lot of what's going on in the game. You're not using the standard match play battle pack or any other battle pack. It's really just all custom stuff for the event and the specific table that you're playing on. Now, some interesting things about these tables. Number one, there were tables that could end up having a permanent impact on things in your army, or at least an impact into the next game. I did play in one of those in the event, and it was super fun. There were other tables where you could impact the table for the rest of the event. And that was kind of like a part of one of the overarching narratives of the story was, everybody's trying to take control of a realm gate, and the table with the realm gate was, something that everybody was fighting over every round and trying to, the forces of Bellicor were trying to break through these like magical chains that were keeping the gate closed, and Bellicor was trying to, use that gate and open it for a direct portal into the realm of chaos to, just let demons fly through the gate. So that was pretty cool. That it just had that cool effect of like, the table's changing and it's a little bit different every time, and what the players do on it advances the story. So that was very cool. There was also at least one table that when playing on that table, it could affect other tables that were currently having games going on them. That was actually the table that I played on the first round. It was a skyport that was like a derelict skyport that had was basically just a junkyard at this point, and the orcs were turning it like into a salvage operation and trying to like refit the ship to um, for their own purposes. Part of the ship was still operational, and you could use it to shoot at other tables, which was really cool, really fun. Um, and I actually won that particular game. So not only was I going to be, um, you know, I got to shoot with it during that game, then got to reposition it for future games. My own actions there had an impact on it long term, because I had a really decisive victory there. And in addition, when I repositioned the ship, I got to aim it up so that it would be able to give me some additional firepower in the next game. So I was able to take shots at the table I was going to after that, which definitely really cool. Loved it. So that was my first game, and my second game was playing on the Realm Gate table, which I actually ended up losing on against Stormcast, I believe. The first game was against Beast of Chaos. And oh man, does Nurgle shred Beast of Chaos. I was playing all demons, and, Plague Drones are really good against hordes. And yeah, just shredded a lot of stuff, and found out Nurglings are super good. I'll be doing a video on that soon as well. So yeah, in the game on the Realm Gate table, I was able to destroy one of the chains holding the gate in place, but I was not able to, I wasn't able to win there or do much else on that table. So at the start of day 2, we were all told that we're going to get an additional 5 destiny points to add to our monster, so everybody kind of leveled up. And then we would do that again at the start of day 3. So from there, it was, jumping to different tables, having different games. One of the tables that I played on was it was like a swamp full of poisonous mushrooms, and the table itself, it was really just a last man standing wins sort of scenario, and it was also designed so that it could be a multiplayer free-for-all scenario. And the game that I played was a 3-player game, which was a lot of fun. We just went until everything was dead, and it was fantastic. And I don't remember what the ultimate effects were specifically to my army, but it would have an effect, because all my guys got really high on mushrooms. They would have some effects throughout the rest of the event. So then on the evening of day 3, it was the final siege battle for the event. And for that, everybody was basically divided up into 2 teams at that point. Be'lakor and Gobsprak, the attacker and defender, were basically determined by the results of all of the previous games in the event. So Be'lakor was defending, and Gobsprak was attacking. And there was a giant wall. Was like this 3D printed terrain, obviously with a bunch of different segments, but it was 25 feet long. It was, like several tables put together. It was amazing. Everybody played at once. It was a 22-player game. What they did to kind of keep it organized was, like, one side of the table would go and they would do all of their own stuff, and basically, like, things that might have a global effect, they usually just would do, like, people that are adjacent to you, just to kind of keep it going. Things would kind of go from one end of the table to the other, but you could just like summon units somewhere else, like if you had the ability to do that in some way. But there were a few things like that. one of the things that you could do was also respawn units. So this was really about just like a slugfest going back and forth, and it was just like kill points. Basically, it was not by points though; it was by unit kills. So blood tithe essentially. Also, there was a corn player, um, and he just was sitting on maximum blood tithe the whole time and doing whatever the hell he wanted, which was awesome. um, so that was cool. And yeah, uh, so they just did alternating turns instead of priority, and um, it did some things with like command points and things like that to make it a little bit more interesting. And yeah, it was basically just like everybody, like one side defending, one side attacking, come at the wall. The walls could be damaged and destroyed. You could garrison the walls to attack the defenders. Um, my personal match went really well. I was up against a Beast Claw Raider player, and he was having trouble like actually busting through the walls, and I was able to like jump over the walls and kind of like defend them from even getting through. My section of the wall was the last to be breached in the whole game. I think it took till like the third or fourth battle round for it to be breached. Um, so yeah, it was really, really fun overall. Ultimately, uh, our team won. Bellicor was victorious, and it was only by like 3 points or something like that. It was a really, really close game, even though I think it was north of like 200 kills per side. It was. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I'm blanking a little bit, but it was 22 players on that table. It was crazy. Um, so overall, I had a really fun time with this. It was a fantastic event. Um, Definitely one of the best events that I've ever played in. It was really well organized. There was a ton of effort that went into the actual narrative aspects of it, as far as writing story, and they were continuously adding to the story every game that was completed. You did like a battle report with the TOs well, actually they were really like GMs at the end of your game, and said, okay, this is what happened, like, and they were taking notes and writing it all down and adding to the narrative of what was going on. And throughout the event, they would kind of be also circulating and talking to everybody, and things would just sort of happen, much in the way that a GM in an RPG would, just kind of like add things into what's going on to put their finger on the scales a little bit in one direction or another, or something unexpected happens. A variety of things. I was really enjoying that a lot. um, the tables themselves were fantastic. There was a lot of 3D printed terrain and custom stuff, and it was all really high quality and really well organized and put together. Each table had a terrain map, so everything was supposed to go in a specific place, had bespoke rules for everything, and like narrative sheets for the tables, like what is this place, what's the story behind it, what's going on here. um like it was just fantastic. Everything about this event was just like really, really fantastic. um I would say, for the people out there, that if you are somebody that really enjoys like tabletop RPGs, like Dungeons and Dragons and Vampire the Masquerade and whatever else, those sorts of things that are very heavily based on like the storytelling, in addition to the actual rolling dice and all of that stuff. I think this is something that would really be something that interests those kind of folks. This is very heavy on the narrative aspect of things. Like, it is a narrative event. Um, and I know that's certainly not for everyone, but the way it's all designed is really fun. Um, One of the other cool things that was going on, obviously, is, as I mentioned, there were mercenaries. And, there was wheeling and dealing and people backstabbing and making deals. And there was, at one point, a fourth faction that arose for a while out of the mercenaries, and I think maybe even some other people. That was actually like a callback to the 2019 narrative event, like kind of reforming one of those coalitions with people that were playing in the previous event. Um, Geez, I hope I'm not missing anything. I think I probably am. I'm doing this like several weeks after the actual event, and I'm doing it without notes, which is tough. So I apologize if this has just been sort of rambling and if I'm not hitting as much detail as people might like me to. But yeah, I highly recommend it. The other great thing about this event is that, as I mentioned, it's done in sessions rather than rounds. So you can find out who your opponent is ahead of time, talk to your opponent, decide when you're going to play. Because it doesn't have to be specifically start at, okay, 10 o'clock in the morning, everybody's got to get in here and we're going to start the timer. No round timers. You just go and play games. And they're going to give you table assignments and give you pairings. But, that's just sort of a loose structure. So what's really cool is that it lets you go to seminars, participate in other events. It gives you a lot of flexibility. You can even just go hang out with your friends and things like that, in between. Um, it's set up really, really well. It's just some outstanding games of Warhammer. I cannot wait to go do it again next year. Um, excuse me. I need a little more coffee. Hold on one second. All right. Yeah, I can't wait to do this again. I've got Holy Havoc coming up really soon. Really excited for that as well. Yeah, stuff just awesome. I'm really excited for it. It's really kind of rekindling a lot of my love for Warhammer. I've been kind of a little bit out of things for a little while, but we're making a comeback now that life is starting to get a little bit more sane. Might be able to get my shit together and do some things. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. Talk to you all later.